And the top story of the weekend, former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe breaking his silence following his firing by Attorney General Jeff Sessions on Friday night. McCabe claiming his dismissal is part of an attack on the FBI and on the Mueller Russia investigation. Meanwhile, we are also learning that McCabe kept notes on his interactions with the president, similar to the memos kept by former FBI Director James Comey. Joining me right now is House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte of Virginia. Mr. Chairman, good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Maria. Good to be with you and your viewers.
Your reaction to the firing of Andrew McCabe?
Well, I think the Attorney General did the right thing. It was the appropriate decision, given the reports of his having leaked internal information to the media and then giving false information about that, misleading information to those investigating the matter. These are very serious concerns, and they tie into the overall concern about how the FBI handled investigations into the elections last year. So the steps are appropriate.
Now, there are a lot of pushback posts and tweets this weekend from the left. Let's go through the fireable offenses here and why specifically Andrew McCabe was fired. We know that the FBI's Office of Professional Responsibility recommended that McCabe be fired. They cited findings from the Justice Department's Inspector General report, which is going to be made public, we understand, in April. McCabe made unauthorized disclosure to the news media. He ordered the disclosure of information to the Wall Street Journal about an ongoing investigation into the Clinton Foundation. He lacked candor under oath on multiple occasions, was not forthcoming, and in the end violated Justice Department policies. How did he lack candor? Is this suggesting he lied under oath?
Well, again, we won't know until we see the Inspector General's report and hear other information, but lacking candor definitely suggests that he gave false information to those investigating the matter. You have been
investigating the FBI along with the Oversight Committee and Trey Gowdy, investigating the FBI and its handling of the Clinton email scandal. We know that there are 1.2 million pages of texts. How many of those texts, those documents, have you seen?
Yeah, there are more than texts. There are other documents as well in the 1.2 million, but we've only seen a tiny percentage of that. And that's regrettable because, quite frankly, while the work of the Inspector General is important and we're looking forward to seeing his report, his responsibilities and the Congress's responsibilities in conducting oversight over the nation's most important premier law enforcement organization is also important, and we need to have those documents. The department and the Bureau have been slow, I would say now very slow, in getting them to us. The last time I was on your program, I expressed confidence that we would have those documents forthcoming, and here we are several weeks later, still don't have them, so this is coming to a head.
Congressman, let's be clear. There are 1.2 million documents. You've only seen 3,000 of them. You've been stonewalled for 5 months.
We have seen some documents. We've seen more than we saw from the Obama administration Justice Department, but we need more documents, and we need them now, and we need them unredacted, by the way, Maria. These latest revelations about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page talking about a federal judge, a Judge Contreras, who was appointed to serve on the FISA court, and they're talking back and forth about how good that is and how Peter Strzok needs to be catching up with him and talking to him. That was made available to us earlier in a redacted form, and it was only just recently that we had the opportunity to see that text unredacted. That clearly does not draw any conclusion about what that judge and Peter Strzok may have done or not done, but it's clearly material to what was going on in the FBI regarding how they were treating this court.
So again, let's be clear here. Normally when there are redactions, they redact things because they are a point of national security. But in fact, what was redacted, because then you saw the unredacted material, was text about going to a cocktail party with this FISA judge, Judge Contreras.
That's correct, and that's information, that's material to the investigation. Not drawing any conclusions about it, but we should know it. That's correct.
Let me ask you, because we're all waiting on the Michael Horowitz IG report, sir, but we know that Michael Horowitz does not have subpoena power. You do have subpoena power. If you keep getting stonewalled and you don't get these documents, are you going to subpoena these documents?
Well, the answer is yes, and as I say, the whole matter is coming to a head. We've had communications with the Department of Justice about this, and they know that not just myself and Chairman Gowdy, but many other members of the House are very concerned about the slow nature of those documents being produced. And as I say, action's going to have to take a new level here very soon. So
again, if you don't get the documents that you have been asking for several months, more than 5 months, you will subpoena those documents from the FBI.
We will.
Okay. Let me ask you what went on here, sir, because people are wondering why there is such a pushback from the left. In fact, John Brennan, former head of the CIA himself, came out this weekend and pushed back aggressively the firing of Andrew McCabe. We have his tweet here, and here's what he says to the president. When the full extent of your venality, moral turpitude, and political corruption becomes known, you will take your rightful place as disgraced demagogue in the dustbin of history. You may scapegoat Andy McCabe, but you will not destroy America. America will triumph from under you. I'm wondering about Brennan. Wasn't he working for a time at the CIA under President Obama when some of this took place? Is he involved?
Well, we don't know that, but his statement is clearly overwrought. The fact of the matter is both Republicans and Democrats should be concerned about the actions taking place in the Federal Bureau of Investigation in 2016 and in 2017. If I were a Democrat, I would want to know why it is that Andrew McCabe was leaking to the Wall Street Journal about the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton investigation, not about Donald Trump. If I were a Democrat, I'd want to know why James Comey, 10 days before the election, announced that he was reopening that investigation. He announced it publicly. It may have had an impact on the election. And therefore, while Republicans are very concerned about his original decision and how that came about not to indict former Secretary of State Clinton, it should be equally concerning to Democrats that the manner was conducted the way it was conducted. So there is a serious problem with several people who were, and I'm thankful to say are no longer, but were at the head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It needs to be investigated. It needs to be investigated by an outside, independent, special counsel, and that's why Chairman Gowdy and I conveyed to Attorney General Sessions just last week our belief that it's very important that the Attorney General appoint a special counsel to begin by looking into the manner in which FISA warrants were obtained by the FBI.
Well, you make a really important point, Congressman, because the Inspector General cannot subpoena or speak to or interview anyone who's no longer at the FBI. So that limits what he can actually do, which is why you've sent a letter to the Attorney General last week asking him to appoint a second special counsel. Have you heard back from Jeff Sessions yet on this?
We have not heard back directly, but we were pleased to see that he stated publicly in response to questions that he was taking the request seriously. And I'm also pleased that a number of other individuals, including 4 prominent senators led by Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley, later also joined us in calling for the appointment of a special counsel. I've been told by many people, including some who were skeptical about the earlier call that I and others in the House made for the appointment of special counsel, now agree that because that counsel has powers separate and apart from the department and the Bureau, right, and because they can look into matters that go beyond the department. There are allegations about things going on in the State Department as well. So this is an important thing that needs to be looked at in a serious manner by someone with independence and subpoena power and prosecutorial power.
Mr. Chairman, I want to ask you about what Andrew McCabe said after he was fired this weekend. And he said that he had, quote, authority to share information with the press with the knowledge of the director. That statement is entirely inconsistent with Comey's May 2017 congressional testimony, which obviously was under oath, when he was asked, have you ever authorized anyone to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump or Clinton investigations? He said, no, never. Does that create perjury for Jim Comey?
Well, I don't want to reach that conclusion because I'm not sure which of them is telling the truth. However, it creates a clear conflict in Mr. McCabe's statement and Mr. Comey's sworn testimony, and that, again, is one more reason why an independent counsel needs to look into this matter. And I say this because, as we said at the outset, the FBI is the premier law enforcement organization of the world, and tens of thousands of great men and women every day keep us safe. They fight crime, they prevent terrorist attacks, and they have been besmirched by this scandal at high levels in the FBI. It needs to be investigated from the outside so that the facts can be made known, corrections made. Obviously, the personnel are now being removed, and that is a very important step, and I applaud Attorney General Sessions for removing Mr. McCabe. However, we need to make sure this does not happen in the future, and therefore the Congress, which has the legislative power and the oversight responsibility, needs to have all of the facts.
Yeah. How long are you expecting this to go on? Let's say there is a second special counsel come in. What would be your timing on that?
I couldn't control that, and that is definitely a downside to investigations, is they take some time. But you do want to get all the facts, and you do want to conduct it in a professional and impartial manner. But we need to get about doing it. It should have been started months ago, right, if not before that.
And by the way, Mr. Chairman, do we know how high up the ladder this goes? I mean, we know that Loretta Lynch, then the Attorney General, told Jim Comey, refer to the Clinton email investigation as a matter, not as a criminal investigation. And that's exactly what he did. He called it a matter, not a criminal investigation. Did President Obama direct Loretta Lynch to do that? Do we know how high up this goes?
We do not know whether that is indeed the case or not. But there certainly is a question about who exactly Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, was sending classified emails in an unprotected manner. And as that is further investigated, it may be revealed that other people were aware of this situation that we do not have confirmation about at this point in time.
I think it's really extraordinary that Andrew McCabe took all these notes when he met with President Trump, but there are no notes about Hillary Clinton. I don't even think that the interview that the FBI did was on the record. Mr. Chairman, I hope you'll come back soon. Thanks for joining us.
Well, Maria, just let me say that last point you just made about bias is an absolutely critical issue. The difference between how these two investigations were conducted is shocking.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll keep on it.